Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new season of the Purposeful Life Show with your host, Adrian Starks. I'm excited to share some new updates of the show with you, starting with a new look, sound, and energy, as well as a variety of guests coming aboard with intriguing topics of conversation. I hope you enjoy the new level of energy that will be brought to the show. Thank you for all of your support since the very beginning in 2019. Wow, it's been 3 years already? Because of you, the Purposeful Life Show is now in the top 5% of all podcasts globally, and we aim to get it into the top 1%. Continue listening to the show and share it with others. You can also now listen to the show on my Facebook page at Adrian Starks, where you can comment in real time and communicate with me about your aha moments. Thank you again for all of your support, and let's make this one hell of a year and be purposeful about doing that. Wishing you all much love and success. Why are some people just rude? Are you having a challenge dealing with them, and are you tired of them trying to ruin your good vibes? Many of us would prefer to avoid them, but there are just those days when we come in direct contact with them. If we are not aware of the reasoning for rudeness, then we can get caught up in the conundrum of it. Stay tuned to our new episode as we talk about dealing with rude people. Hi, my name is Adrian Starks, and welcome to the Purposeful Life Show on the Champion Up Podcast. This podcast is for the courageous creators wanting to create a life of meaning, adventure, and fulfillment, all while helping to make the world a better place. I'm happy you're here, and if you're new to our show, make sure to give us that 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Also, connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Champion Up. It is always that one idea that could be your breakthrough. It's time to step into your courage and believe the champion in you. Welcome back to the Purposeful Life Show on the Champion Up Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Adrian Starks, and I'm excited to have you back for another amazing, uplifting, and empowering episode. Before we get started today, why don't you go ahead and download this podcast onto your favorite podcast platform and to give us that 5-star rating. Let's talk today about some rude people. Some of you may be rolling your eyes right now saying, yeah, I know that's right. Or you might even have a sheet of paper out and right now you're writing down some names that come up to you because they're on your list. We all have those people, right? They're on your list. That list of, if they do one more thing, I'm about to go off. I've had many encounters with people like that. And the question that I'm often asked by people who see me with this optimism, with this happiness, with this drive for life, with this inspiration, they ask me, do you ever come across rude people? And when you do, what happens? And my answer is, yes, I do come across rude people. And the key with dealing with rude people is to understand rudeness is an attitude. And an attitude is based on an emotion that comes from a belief about something. And a lot of times, negative people have a low self-esteem belief about themselves in relation to the world that they live in. And what it is basically a protection barrier. If I can trick you to think that I'm badder, I'm tougher, I'm meaner than you, then you won't harm me. You won't get too close because I am actually vulnerable, and I don't understand that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. And that's where it comes from rude people. Let's say you're driving your car and someone cuts you off, right? And they honk their horn at you. You can't understand why. That person is under a lot of stress. Maybe they have lost control somewhere, and the only control they have is behind their steering wheel. So they become this person that has road rage, so to speak. We see a lot of those people on the road. You're in line and you're waiting for your coffee. The barista kind of looks at you and rolls their eyes because you're asking them to add in a little bit more of cinnamon or a little bit more of this particular type of creamer. And they look at you and say, well, it's over there. Go get it yourself. And you're wondering why they're so mean to you at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, maybe because they had a rough night. That's not your problem, though, but that's where it's coming from. You're at work, you're having a good day, and everything seems to be going just fine. You're in your groove, you're in your zone, and you have all of your things taken care of, and all of a sudden a supervisor, a manager, or someone comes to you, or even a coworker, and they say something that sets you off. They say a negative statement to derail everything that you have built so far that morning. Those are rude people. Over time, I would react to people like that, meaning I would get angry with them and then say something back because I have a quick wit about myself, and you guys know that. But I realized that was not something that was important for me to use that way. It was important for me to use in the sense of encouragement, in the sense of having the gift of gab, the gift of speaking. When I would react to people like that, I would give them my personal power. Then they would have control. Then they would feel happy. You ever wonder when you respond back to someone negatively, they kind of smile and they walk off, or they may feel like they've won and they stop the argument because they thought they've won. That's why arguments are so bad. Disagreements are good, but arguments are bad. I had a problem with that for a while. I had to always win an argument. I have to always have the last word. And I am still learning right now to be cautious of that, to be cautious of what comes out of my mouth and how I come across to people, even my closest loved ones. Back to the rudeness. How do you deal with rude people? Understanding this, everyone is fighting their own battles. Everybody has something going on in their life that they're trying to cope with. And rudeness is a projection of something that is out of control in one's life, and they're trying to find a way to be in control in something else. It's like saying that maybe your finances are off right now, but yet you're trying to control everything you're spending to help out with your finances, when not really looking at your finances and saying, what do I need to change over here to possibly allow me to buy these things? You see where I'm going with this? The second part is responding. How do I change these things over here so that I can pay for these things over here, as opposed to saying, well, my finances are shot, so I have to stop, or I have to control this here. I have to control my spouse spending this much money. I have to control what my kids get. I have to control what I get. That's reacting versus looking at how do we respond? How do we improve this other half of it so that we can do these things? It's the same thing with dealing with people out here in the world. When someone says something negative to you, you do not react right away. This is what I've learned. You don't have to have a comeback line. You don't have to get mad and angry, because remember, it's not personal. It's on them. They're just trying to find a means of some kind of power. And the quickest way to get someone's power is to get someone emotionally upset. I learned this from Mr. Matthew Knowles. He's the father of Beyonce and Solange. But he talked about the power of emotion and how if he wants to win an argument, he'll just get someone upset. Because at that point, you lose all rationality. You start to think irrational, and then you start making judgments and statements that you typically would not make because you're operating from fear of protecting yourself. This happens the same way when you're dealing with people out here in your job, in your personal spaces, anywhere you go. If someone's rude, they are operating from a state of trying to control something outside of themselves. And if you're not careful, they'll grab a hold of you and put you into a chokehold, and you will not know what to do other than gasp for air and try to defend yourself. That's why you have to be very careful with rude people. Your job is to remain cool. Keep your attitude calm. Don't let their infectious negative attitude infect yours, because it will make you sick. That's why I've learned that optimism and positivity is a powerful remedy against the viruses of negativity that spread all across the world. Rude people come a dime in a dozen. So do good people. So do people who are positive. The question here is, are you focusing more on rude people, or are you focusing more on the good people who are supportive and who are actually kind to you? That's what I find. I'm looking for the smiles. I'm looking for the people who have a general sense of camaraderie. They like to see you shine. They want to say hello to you. They want to give you a hug. They want to see you become better. I aim for those people in my life. And if a rude person comes through, I see it just like the universe. You go out there in the galaxy, there's all kind of things flying around out of orbit, right? And eventually a meteorite or some rock will hit something and it gets chipped. But that thing doesn't stop. It keeps its orbit. It keeps its rotation. I see it just like that. We're out here in this galaxy of life called living. And every now and then you're going to get hit with someone who has a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to try to knock you down. And the key is to not allow that to affect you and infect you. If you're courageously out here trying to create a different life for yourself, create a better life for yourself, you're going to have to focus on your attitude, because success and happiness is a result of good attitude. It's not the other way around. So if you're spending your time focusing on a bad person's attitude towards you, guess what you're doing? You are losing the energy that you could be using to focus it on the good things. I recall the quote from Socrates, and he said that the key to life change is not to focus our energy on fighting the old, but on building the new. So the key here is to focus your energy not on fighting with negative people, not on fighting with negativity. The key here is to focus your energy on building the new. And that building the new is looking at what someone may do and not to react to it, to only respond. If someone's rude to you, all you can do is give back possibly a kind gesture, or to say, okay, I understand. Or to say, well, I wasn't aware of that, and to not throw it back in their face or not to make them feel bad about it, but just to respond in a way that's neutral, that allows you to have the control. Remember, this is not a game here. This is not a scoreboard to see who can win. This is about you maintaining your positioning on the field of life and knowing that there are just some people who are going to try to pull you into the sidelines. They're going to try to knock you out of bounds. You just got to stay your course. So the question that once again I'm going to go back to here, I'm going to talk about, how do I deal with rude people? 1, understand that rude people are people just like you. They're just not understanding how to deal with their frustrations. They're not out to get you. They're not out to destroy you. They don't understand their frustrations. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to channel that energy. Remember that quote I just talked about. They're focusing on fighting the old, not on building the new. The second step is to realize that nothing is ever personal towards you. Even if you think it is, it's not personal. This is how you can take yourself out of the emotional battle. I'll go back to what Mr. Matthew Knowles said about winning arguments. If he gets you emotionally upset, then a person has won, right? Take that personal part out of it. It's not personal. It's a situational thing for that person and whoever is being that way. The third thing is to realize that you have to focus on what you want to achieve in your life, and that comes from creativity. And creativity cannot come from a sense of fighting or defending or surviving. It comes from a sense of optimism. It comes from a sense of clarity. It comes from a sense of you understand that you're all right. You don't have enemies. You only have comrades. And this is where the game changed for me. I don't focus on my enemies. I have comrades. I have people who rally for me, people who I rally for. When you can focus on those 3 steps I told you about, you're going to find your days much better. The person at work who's trying to get on your last nerve, they will not get on your last nerve. That boss, that supervisor, that employee, or anyone else in your life who may be pushing your buttons from time to time, you'll find that it's much easier to deal with them because you've got some winning to do. You've got things to create. You've got your own changes to make, and you cannot make changes trying to change someone else. Hear me out. You cannot make changes in your life trying to change someone else. That's not your responsibility. Stop trying to change negative people. Stop trying to get them to be right. Your mission, your responsibility is to make sure your stuff is right, to make sure you're right on your end. And what happens is when you lead, people will follow. And if you do it enough, that negative person will do 2 things. 1, they'll leave you alone and go pick on somebody else who gives into that. Or 2, they'll say, wow, this person's not giving in. Maybe I should change my act here. Or I feel really bad about being this way. This is a key trait to have when you're dealing with challenges in your life. Everything that we do, it leads to something else. If you can learn how to deal with negative people, you can learn how to deal with negative situations. You can learn how to make changes within the challenges. And this all ties back around to one word, your attitude. Or it's a phrase, your attitude. Go back to one word, attitude. Attitude is always going to be the starting and ending point of anything that you do or any result that you may have. Check your attitude. Don't check others. To have a better attitude that says yes toward life and says yes toward you, I want you to go to my website, championup.net, and read my blog called The New Attitude. I think you'll find a lot of great gems there that will allow you to take a next step into your daily life and to deal with the negativity and the rude people that may come your way, because they will. But remember this, you are always in control. You become out of control when you try to step outside of yourself to control the things that you don't need to worry about controlling. Focus all your energy on building and creating the new. Until then, I encourage you to be that courageous creator of change in your life. This is the Purposeful Life Show on the Champion Up Podcast with myself, Adrian Starks, and thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed our podcast today, don't forget to give us that 5-star rating and subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on the powerful life-changing content on future episodes. Also, make sure to go to championup.net for even more life-changing content. Until then, I encourage you to be the courageous creator in your life.